Alright guys, what's up? It's JoJo back again with another video. So today we actually do have a front mount intake and then the turbo intake as well from Revenge right here, our RVNG, my bad, Raceworks. So let's go ahead and unbox this. Alright guys, it was a bit of a struggle. The tape that they do use is great quality, I'm not gonna lie. I did struggle a bit opening it. As you see, we got all the clamping for the front mount intake. And then here is part of the front mount intake. It does feel very solid, honestly, grabbing it right now. And then you can see the logo, RVNG. Comes with a little bit of all the clamps, everything. And then right here is the turbo inlet, which is something I would get if you do plan on getting an intake, just so that way it can flow better, more air into the turbo. So yeah, let's go ahead and unwrap everything so I can go ahead and show you guys a better view. Alright guys, this is everything laid out for basically the front mount intake. You do have the first one that's going to go ahead and connect to the turbo inlet. Then you have the second piping that's going to connect to that with the fittings to connect it. And then you also do get a sticker, which is pretty cool. The filter itself is pretty solid, honestly, high quality. And then they do give you a rain guard for the filter. And then for the turbo inlet, it's pretty solid. Honestly, the welds are pretty solid. And then here is the fittings for that one. So the first thing that we're gonna go ahead and start doing is removing the air box and then also the turbo inlet tube, basically. So we're gonna go ahead and remove the air box. We're gonna get a flathead, just pop basically each and every single one off, which there's going to be about 5 of them, I believe. 1, 2, 3, and 4. So there's actually 4. Once you go ahead and pop these off with your flathead or however else, you're going to go ahead and get a T20 and unscrew the sensor for the intake. It's going to be a T20 again for the MAP sensor. What I would do, once you remove the MAP sensor, put it somewhere where it won't get dirty or messed up or ruined, so that way you don't have to replace it. These are kind of expensive. Basically, you could get a car part for the cost of one of these, so just be careful when you do remove it. The next thing you're going to want to do is go ahead and loosen up this clamp, and then you're going to remove the air box. All right, once you remove the air box, the cap, and the filter, there's going to be a grommet right here, and then a secondary one right here, and then you're just going to pull it really hard, and then the air box will come out. All right, once you go ahead and remove it, there's actually 3. So there's 1, 2, and then the third one right there. So be careful. I went by corner to make it easy. And then here is your turbo sitting right here. And then your inlet tube to your filter. What you guys are gonna go ahead and do right after is get your flathead again and unscrew that nut right there for the clamp. If you can't loosen up that clamp, what you're gonna get is a 932 T. Go ahead and loosen it like that, and then when it is loose, you can go ahead and pull this out. It's gonna take a little bit of wiggle room. You're just gonna have to wiggle it out because it is super tight. Obviously, it's been there for a couple of thousands of miles from factory, so yeah, you're gonna have to just like wiggle it out. So once you go ahead and pull that out, you can go ahead and put in your new intake. If you're just doing the intake, if you're also doing the turbo inlet tube, you're gonna go ahead and do more steps. Next is to remove this clamp right here. You're just gonna go ahead and pick it out, and then afterwards we're gonna have to remove this whole vacuum line thing right here. All right, so I got ahead and removed it. I did have some difficulties. I ended up breaking the hose, so you do want to be careful. I went to BMW, the local one. It cost me just a little over $100, so yeah. I already got the new part for it. We're gonna go ahead and install the new parts. All right, so for the inlet tube, or the turbo inlet, you're just gonna get this and then some clamps to hold it down. So let's go ahead and install it. You're gonna go ahead and connect it right there, and then you're gonna put down this piece right here onto it. All right guys, so once you do get it out, since I had technical difficulties with stuff breaking, you're gonna get a flathead to pop this out on the OEM one, and it will pop out. Just get pliers, pull it out. So the reason why you want to change it out is because you can see the baffle. This basically is slowing it down with boost and everything. And then so yeah, once you do want to put on the new O-ring or whatever, the clamp or whatever this is, make sure the fins are pointing towards the RVNG, and then there's going to be a third hole. So you're gonna go ahead and put that on, and then let's go ahead and slap it onto the turbo. You're gonna go ahead and put this back on for the CCV, and then to disconnect it, it's double squeeze, pull it out. Do that before you do remove this off the clamp right here, or the electrical wire or whatever. So yeah, just go ahead and reconnect this, and then we're gonna push this back on and then reconnect that wiring to right here. Once you got it in, it does take a little bit of force, so you're just gonna have to push it in really good. So yeah, you're just gonna go ahead and reconnect this, connect this part, and then connect this right here. So yeah, it's basically just reconnecting everything back to place. You're gonna go ahead and plug this one in, and then right here as well, and then we're gonna go ahead and plug this right here. All right, so once we got all this basically connected right here, we're gonna focus on getting the front mount intake on. So you're gonna go ahead and pull this off. All right, for the second part, we're gonna go ahead and unscrew these right here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Then we're gonna have to get this ductlet out. So let's go ahead and do this. And then there's gonna be one on the end right here, one right here. This one's gonna be T20. All right, so in order, next you're gonna go ahead and pull this back, and then there's gonna be clips here. As you can see, there's one right there, and it's gonna be all around. So there's gonna be one right here, one right here, one right here, another one, boom. So there should be like 8 in total. It's gonna be a bit hard to take off if you don't want to remove the bumper, but if you do want to remove the bumper, you can go ahead and take all the extra steps to go ahead and remove the bumper, but I'm not. All right, go ahead and got it out without breaking anything. Basically, you're just gonna have to stick your hand through here. You can use a flathead at the first beginning part to get these off really quickly. But yeah, now that we got it off, we're gonna take off this guard. Just pull it off really quickly, and then there's gonna be a ductlet right here that we're gonna go ahead and take off as well. Once you go ahead and got the guard out right here, what you're gonna go ahead and do is remove this off of it. That's what's holding this into place. Then you're just gonna pull it out. I got ahead and got mine out. I use a flathead, basically apply pressure to remove it. Now you're gonna have to get a Dremel or something to make a bigger cutout for the piping to fit for the intake. All right, so I already got ahead and made a cut. Basically remove some of the rubber. It's fine, you know, no one's gonna ever really see it. I'm gonna go ahead and apply some tape so that way the plastic doesn't, the intake doesn't scrape against it and nothing, just for reinsurance, so that way it doesn't rip over time. So you're gonna wanna get the first half, the fitting right, the piping like this. You're gonna wanna go ahead and install the fitting and the clamp down. And then what you're gonna go ahead and do is squeeze this part in through here, get some like soapy water or something to lubricate it. And you might wanna get a second hand to help you out with this part. All right, I got ahead and got this front tubing in. You're gonna put the adapter and then the filter on. So what I did was did it from this way in. I tried it from the other way, it didn't really work. For some people it does. I did this by myself, so yeah, I start off with this way with a lot of soapy water. And then I got ahead and, because I'm a righty, I shoved it down. And then with my left hand, I was pulling it at the same time, making sure I'm applying soapy water throughout the process and everything. It does take a while. And got the front mount intake in. If you do not plan on removing the front bumper, you're gonna have to apply pressure outwards while you tighten these two clamps on really tight. That way, if you don't tighten it tight enough, which you should already, this is gonna get loose, it's gonna pop off because of the front bumper pressure. So yeah, just make sure. And then I'm putting it out extra so that way you can see the RVNG. And then we're gonna go ahead and get this one onto right here. All right, once you go ahead and put this on, you're gonna wanna start off with this one, tighten it, then work your way onto this one, tighten this one. Now we're gonna go ahead and put the MAF sensor on, use the included screws that they do provide, and then connect the MAF sensor with this sensor plug, and then you're all set. All right guys, so you're gonna go ahead and start it, make sure everything works properly. Doesn't sound funny for the first time. Let's go ahead and start it up, make sure everything's connected before you do. Listen to the idle, make sure everything sounds right. Check underneath the hood, make sure everything looks right, and everything's good to go. once you got it on properly, what you're gonna do is put these screws back on, and then put the kennel. You're just gonna slap them back on it, and then you're all set. Unless you want to leave this one exposed so everyone knows you have a front mount intake, but I think it's kind of corny having one off, one on. So yeah, that's it.